Knowles on the News. Susan Knowles.
Well, I hope everybody is doing well. There's been a lot in the news, probably a little bit less in the news than there normally is, but nonetheless as important as it's always been. There are a couple of things that are happening that I don't think we're going to hear about under this Obama administration. It's probably something that we've gotten used to, something we continue to see, and something we're going to continue to have happen until January the 20th, which can't come soon enough. I'm willing to even skip by all the holidays and just get to January 20th, but apparently that's not going to happen, and that's just my wishful thinking. But today there was an attack by Israel in Damascus, and that for those who look at Bible prophecy and know anything about Isaiah 17, that is something that people are saying it's a real possibility there. Isaiah 17, for those who aren't familiar with it, basically talk about the destruction of Damascus in Syria before it brings on Ezekiel 38 and 39, and I'll let you go there and see what all that is about. But in general, it's about all of these nations around Israel coming in to attack Israel. Well, apparently, and I wrote about this on my website at SUSANKNOWLES.com. You can go there and you can find the article. Israel decided that it was in danger and that it was time for them to attack. And what happened was, which is always the case, which again we're never hearing anything about. They're always under attack, if you will, from places like Iran and Hezbollah, and this was no exception. In fact, the Israeli Defense Minister Lieberman confirmed that the strikes were conducted by Israel in Syria to prevent, as I said, the transfer of sophisticated weapons and weapons of mass destruction. Now, it's been a long time since we've heard weapons of mass destruction, but apparently these weapons were being sent to Hezbollah, and we can only guess that they were coming over from Iran, Syria. The guess is yours, but Lieberman said, "We're first and foremost making efforts to maintain the security of our citizens and protect our sovereignty, as they should." In America right now, Obama thinks that we're totally safe. We have nothing to worry about with our sovereignty, but at least it's good to see that Israel takes it seriously and believes that their people need to be protected because they have, I guess, common sense that we don't have. Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu said, "We are well prepared on our northern border and will not allow Islamic State elements or any other hostile elements to use the war in Syria to establish themselves close to our border. We will not let Islamic State operatives or other operatives under the auspices of the Syrian war establish themselves along our borders." And there you go. Here's this big war, quote-unquote war, raging over in Syria, where we're supposedly fighting ISIS. And meantime, people like Hezbollah are using that to get weapons. And what do they need those weapons for? Let's see. To destroy Israel, because that's what they've been trying to do since forever. Now, this was the second attack on Syria in the past 7 days. And this time the reports are that Israel struck a military airport in Damascus close to Bashar Assad's palace. Now, the Syrian state news agency, of course, said Israel launched a number of surface-to-surface missiles from inside the occupied territories at this particular airport, and called the incident a desperate attempt to support the terrorist groups and raise their morale. Yeah, that's what Israel does. Gosh, talk about your propaganda. I mean, it's just amazing. Now, there's if you go there on my page, on my website, there is a video from a former IDF member, Amir Sarfati, and he talks about the attack at the base. And he said there were conflicting reports as to whether the strike was carried out by fighter jets or ground-to-ground missiles. And he said that the most recent attack was different in that Israel is trying to prevent Hezbollah or the Islamic State from getting tactical weapons and weapons of mass destruction. So he's essentially saying the same thing as the defense minister. But he goes on to say Israel's taking care of business during the night. I love that. Whereas we tell everybody what we're going to do, when we're going to do it, how long we're going to be there, how many people we're taking with us, how many weapons we have with us. Israel just like, okay, it's nighttime, time to go, let's hit it. And that's what they do. They don't tell anybody. They don't forecast for everyone, oh, we'll be arriving in 5 minutes, make sure that you're there. But no, they go ahead and they go to take care of their people, as they should. And, I'm hoping under a new administration that we don't telegraph every move that we're going to make when it comes to any military operations that we're doing. Now, hopefully we will never need military operations, but, let's be realistic. Chances are that something is going to happen. This world is very much volatile right now, and it has been for a long period of time. And again, our current faithful leader doesn't even understand that they're a threat to us here in the United States. He's convinced that everything is just overseas, and I guess we're making a big deal out of it here in the United States. Well, I know you don't feel like that. I don't feel like that either. And we'll never hear. I haven't heard. I've been listening. I've been waiting. I've been waiting all day for somebody to tell me about what happened in Israel, and I haven't heard anything yet. And the likelihood of you hearing it anywhere else in America other than what I'm telling you and going there to my website is pretty small. Because we're to believe that everything is fine, and as you know, as Obama is leaving, we're going to be told how great the economy is, how great the jobs were going. There's no unemployment. I mean, there's so much no unemployment. That's what 93 million people are out of a job or whatever it is. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, and it's the same propaganda, and it's so hard. I mean, you don't want to believe your own country uses propaganda. But I mean, what have we heard for the past 8 years? If it's not propaganda, I don't know what you call it, because I have no other name for it. It sure is propaganda as far as I'm concerned, because we're never told the truth. We're sitting there. We're honestly, we could be looking at something that's red, and the Obama administration, including Obama, would come along and say, "That's not red. Are you?" No. That's black. You just think it's red. Everything is black. It's in the black. It's great. Why can't you see that? Just trust me on this. I mean, we're going to have to try to help people that have been under that, hypnosis, whatever you want to call it, for the past 8 years, that they've believed every single solitary thing that's come out of the administration. And sad to say, for the most part, those people that have supported Obama, have been there all along, they don't understand why you and I can't see what they see. So I don't think that we should expect any of that to change at all. But we somehow... it would just be so great if we could somehow help these people to get over what they've gone through, this illusion, this blindness that they've had for the past 8 years. It's just a different way of thinking. And honestly, if you've ever sat and talked to somebody who is like a Bernie supporter or a Hillary supporter, they think that you're absolutely off your rocker. Just as when we're talking to them, and we have no way of even comprehending how they came to the conclusion that they did, we feel basically the same way. And so we're at total ends of the hemisphere, okay? And I don't know if we come back even to the middle, but over the next 4 years, it would be great to kind of work towards doing that. I don't know if there's a way to reach those people. And quite frankly, I think you have to be willing and open to change in order for change to occur. And I just don't see them as being open to change. If anything, they would want us to change, and that's just not going to happen. And that's kind of how they view it with us. So for people who come up with things of, oh, just be nice, just say nice things to them, and they'll start to understand. Well, I try to always be nice, but I am not going to waste my time in being nice in hopes that they're going to come around. I can give them some information. I can talk to them the way that I normally speak to them about matters like this. And they can choose to open their minds or not. I mean, again, I don't ever try to force someone to believe anything that they don't feel comfortable with. They don't have to believe what I'm saying. It's absolutely up to them. And I'm certainly not going to change how I phrase things and how I present things or anything else for people. Because I think what that does is when you start changing who you are and start changing your way of speaking, you'll hear people talk like this. You should talk to Black Lives Matter people like that. Because if you just listen, if you just understand them, they'll change. And I've seen a social justice pastor who's on my website, and if he hears this, he'll know exactly who he is. I should say on my Facebook. He's really into going into different organizations that bring in refugees, and he somehow, it seems from his post, that they'll just change if you're just nice to them, or they'll just change if the women wear the hijabs around them, and so they feel comfortable. No, I'm sorry. You don't help someone change by changing and becoming them. That's like, in my opinion, it's only my opinion, but it would be like saying, I'm going to help an alcoholic, and the only way that I can do that is to become an alcoholic myself. Or I'm going to help somebody who does drugs by doing drugs myself and making them feel comfortable, and then we'll both come out of it together. No. To me, that's ridiculous. And I can hear the social warrior pastor now saying, but, are you comparing alcohol to wearing hijabs and Muslims? No. Okay. No, let's get away from the political correctness. But we're not going to change someone who believes in Islam and follows it to the law. We're not going to convince them that we're Christian and it's okay, we're likable people, we'll just kind of be like you, and then you'll start to know us and you'll like us and you'll change. I think there's certain times and places for that, but in general, that's just not going to happen. And you should keep your guard up, because if someone is really following Islam, they can lie and say that they're even, Christian, or they like Christianity. So I think it would be very difficult to know what's going on. And I think therein lies the danger in some of it. So my thing is, just be yourself and be courteous to people. And if they're unhappy with their situation or unhappy with their party, as in with Hillary Clinton and her supporters, then they'll start looking around. But quite honestly, they really, in the Hillary supporters, they didn't even know what Hillary did. So I don't really think they're going to go out and start looking around someplace else to find a better party. I think they're satisfied with not knowing anything. I mean, a lot of those people couldn't even give you one reason why Hillary, what she was doing, why she should have been president. I mean, amazing. So they don't follow the news anyway. So it's not going to help if you and I go out there and try to, change their minds. Now, I don't know also if you've seen, there's been a lot of people who have come out and started talking about General Mattis and Mad Dog Mattis, and these are people, of course, on the left who are always afraid of everything and everyone, because, I'll just be honest with you, no PC here. With the left, if a man, remember how we used to have men and women. Now we have men, women, and 70 other genders or species or whatever. I don't know what they are, but I just know man and woman. But so if you have a man these days who's acting dare I say, like a man, showing some strength and ability, some assertiveness, maybe even the word I can say, aggression. We used to say that it was okay. If you were describing a male, that was like, oh, okay, yeah, well, that's a male, dummy, of course. But now if we talk about that and have anybody that looks like they have any strength, oh my gosh, we cannot have that. We can't confirm that man. We can't have a man who's going to lead the military. Oh no. We need to have a civilian who, I don't know. It's never really described, but you get the point. Men are not welcome here. Men can't be leaders. Men can't lead the country. That type of thing. It's kind of if you're from the left, it's not something that you admire anymore. Let's just maybe leave it at that. It's not something that's admired. And so now, I have another article up on my website. This time, we have a veteran who is, he's a Democrat. I mean, I don't know why a veteran would want to be a Democrat, but anyway, he's a veteran Democrat, Ruben Gallego. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. That would be how you pronounce it in California. And he's in Arizona. And he doesn't want Congress to approve the waiver for General Mattis to become the next Secretary of Defense for President-elect Trump. He says, as a fellow Marine, I greatly admire the general. Yes. And he goes on to say, we all should be incredibly grateful for his many years of service. But he says, as a veteran, I believe strongly in the principle of civilian leadership of the military. Now, I don't know. When is the last time that you ever heard a veteran saying that? Every veteran I've ever talked to has said to me they would love to have a veteran running anything that concerns veterans, the country, military stuff, things of that nature. Not to say that veterans are against the civilians, but they feel more comfortable following somebody who has some military knowledge and training, and civilians typically don't. However, here's a little caveat. Current law requires that a military officer be out of active duty for at least 7 years before taking the job of Defense Secretary. I do not believe this long-standing check should be cast aside, and I will oppose a waiver of this rule even for someone as exceptionally qualified as General Mattis. Okay, I really honestly don't necessarily get the big deal, all right? I know there was a waiver in 1950 for someone under Truman. And quite frankly, I always think the Secretary of Defense ought to have some military background, and I wouldn't even care if they were currently in the military. Now, I do understand, I guess people's thinking is, oh, well, the military, they're going to want to go to battle all the time, and what are the checks and balances on that? Well, like this guy, where were your checks and balances when Obama was taking his executive orders and just sailing through the White House? Where were you out there screaming, stop, we need checks and balances? No, you weren't there. You come out now and you want to oppose a man who's probably the best guy for the job ever. But you want to oppose him because why? Because you're a Democrat. And because your other Democrat, Gillibrand, feels the same way that you do. So in order to stand with your, politicians, and you've forgotten your veteran buddies, you're going to come out and you're going to say that. I really don't know. There's been some speculation that this waiver is not even needed. But whether it's needed or not, give it to him. He's been out for 4 years. 3 more years would have been, the rule is you have to be out 7. Okay, so we're out 4. Give me the real reason. Again, is there even a real reason why we should wait 7 years for this person to be out of the military before we can have them be in this position? I don't see any benefit for this rule anymore. Now, again, if people are afraid, oh, well, this guy's going to be a warmonger, well, supposedly in our government, used to be anyway, before Obama came in, there were checks and balances, and we were able to have that, and we weren't worried about that. And I mean, I don't think this guy is going to go out and start doing things without the act of Congress or the president. I mean, I know Obama has done a lot of things like that, again, with executive orders. But at some point, we need to figure out who we need in leadership. What's important in this country, because we have kowtowed down to everybody and his brother for the past 8 years and gone on an apology tour. We have got to make other countries know that when we say something, it's not like Obama, who never even says something, and even if he did, they would laugh in his face. But we have to get back to a position where when we say something, people know that we mean business and you don't mess with the U.S. That's where we have to get back to, and that's where we've gotten away from for so long. So give them the waiver. And I think if you don't give them the waiver, there are going to be a lot of people who are unhappy. Because I personally can't think of anybody better for the position. I don't know if there's another military person. For me, honestly, it needs to be a military person. It really does. Because, I mean, look at this. Look at this time with Obama. He doesn't even listen to the military leaders. He practically, has gotten rid of everybody at the top brass since he's been in. Isn't it time we start listening to our military again? Isn't it time we get back to wanting to protect this country and do what's right for this country? And have strong leaders in this country? For one, I'm ready for a strong leader. A strong leader with a strong administration. When people say something, people listen. It gets old and tired, really fast for the countries around us to just be laughing at us. They've been laughing at us for the past 8 years because we don't mean what we say anymore. We say one thing when we do something else. Or we make stupid military moves. Why? Because we don't listen. Or we don't even send people to protect our guys in Benghazi. Things like that, They harken back to the days of Jimmy Carter and Bill Clinton and on with all the Democrats. Enough of it. I think we've got to move forward, and this whole thing with Jill Stein and her voting recount. I hope all of you know by now this was all done so that she could raise money, so that she would have enough money in 4 years to run again, and that she could pay off the debts that she has right now from the failed process of this past election, this candidate process that she went through. She needs to pay that off. And unfortunately, again and again and again, people like her and those on the liberal left, they love to use their supporters and make them think that, oh man, we're doing this for the republic, and Jill calls it a democracy, but like they're doing this for you. Oh, this is for you. We want fair elections. We want what you want to do is you want to line your own pockets. I mean, even Bernie Sanders sold you out. He really did. And people are still, Bernie Sanders, I wish he were back. Maybe he'll run in 4 years. Bernie Sanders is like, what? She'll be 77 or something like that in 4 years. Bernie Sanders has taken the money that he was given for being bought himself a new house, and he gets to fly around in the airplane for the DNC, or speaking engagements, for God's sake. He could care less about what you're doing and what this country will be in the next 4 years. He doesn't care. So get over that. And they're already looking around Joe Biden. Oh, I'm going to run in 2020. Joe, please, my gosh. I can't take any more of these people. And I am hopeful. Really hopeful. I know people aren't, not everybody is satisfied and happy with who Trump's picking, and oh my gosh, look, Goldman Sachs and blah, blah, blah. These are the people that they run the Democrat Party. There are Goldman Sachs everywhere in the Democrat Party, and even in the Republican Party. It only became an issue, honestly, because of Trump making it an issue, because he could use that. I'm sure Trump has a ton of friends with Goldman Sachs. He had people in his campaign before he was elected from Goldman Sachs. It was just something that he used to get people riled up. That's all it is. And it worked. It worked really well for him. So, you just have to look and see who he has. Are they decent human beings? We're getting rid of the lobbyists. I mean, nobody's going to be perfect, and he's not going to come in and make everything, all civilians that aren't rich, that have no connections to lobby. You can't weed these people out like that totally. They've been around for so long. I mean, my God, this has been our standard operating procedure even before Obama came along. So it's not going to occur overnight. We have to get down to serious problems. We have to get down to solving things right away. We really do, like Obamacare and anything else. I mean, I hope Trump looks at all these executive orders and just, I don't know, takes his own pen, crosses through them, and gets on with it. Because we have so much that we need to do. And I know even under Trump, people are already upset with him. Sarah Palin, crony capitalism, because of the deal that he worked out with Carrier. I don't know. I mean, if he gives one corporation a benefit that he doesn't give another corporation, or doesn't allow people to be eligible, then I have a problem with it. So far, I haven't seen that. And he's not president right now. I mean, he really isn't. But he has done more than Obama has, even before he takes office. So, let's just see what he can do. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about today, I had an interview this week, and I wanted to kind of bring that in today on Knowles on the News, because I talked to Patrick Wood. And if you don't know who he is, go to technocracy.news. He's basically a leading and critical expert on sustainable development, green economy, Agenda 21, 2030 agenda, and historic technocracy. And he's the author of Technocracy Rising. I spoke with him in an interview, and I've given you some edited excerpts from that interview, because I think it's very important for all of us to remember this. There are people that are still trying to control the United States, whether it be through the UN, technocrats, and Patrick Wood will explain what a technocrat is for you on these excerpts that I have. But they're still coming, and climate change, all that garbage that we hear. These people, just because Trump came in, doesn't mean that they're going to go away. It means that there's still a battle going. And you need to know exactly who these people are and what they want. And what they want to do is they want to control every aspect of your life and my life. And if you don't believe me, when you hear what Patrick has to say, I think it'll start to dawn on you. We can't fall asleep. And I've said this over and over, and I know I keep saying it's a broken record, but we have to start standing up. Whatever we see coming, we can't be silent anymore. We can't just sit there and go, oh, well, yeah, but, there's some benefit in that. There's some benefit in them wanting to put smart meters in my house, or know everything that I'm doing, or even put a chip in my body. I mean, I can see the benefit. Okay, great. So you can see the benefit. Can you see why it wouldn't be a benefit? And do you ever sit there and weigh the two of them? Because I think sometimes we allow ourselves to be fed information. We don't do research, and then we just go, oh, okay, I'll let somebody else worry about it. Well, guess what? That somebody else has become you and me. And we have to start looking at these things and figuring out what it is that we need to do to stop some of this stuff. I mean, these people are crazy, some of them. I mean, I've seen some things in regards to sustainable development where they want to produce our food, and this is going to be gross, but produce our food from feces and insects. I'm not kidding you. I don't know if this is because they think that, growing plants or growing fruit and vegetables, somehow we're hurting these organisms, and that's not what we need. We need to have a new way of thinking about food because we're not being fair to Mother Earth. This is scary stuff, and I wanted you to hear this today because it is so scary. And I don't know, I used to think about some of this and I would laugh at it. This was years ago, and it's here. I mean, I shouldn't have been laughing. And there are different shows that would talk about this years and years ago. I'm talking about 20 years ago, and would try to warn us that this is where we were going, and we were like, "Come on now, that's ridiculous." But here we are. I when I did this interview, I posted in a group that I thought was against Agenda 21 and 2030 and sustainable development. Well, little did I know when I posted the event that it was a group that absolutely believed in it and the New World Order. And I'll have to admit to you, I have never been in a group where I felt so violated from the vile comments and personal attacks on me just for posting something in that room. It was, and people, I don't really care, comments, whatever. I've been a practicing attorney. I think I've probably heard every insult I could hear leveled at me or anybody else that happened to be an attorney. That's not the point. These people, it was spiritual and it was evil. Spiritual evil. Okay. It really was. There was, it was a dark room. I will tell you that. They're serious about getting their way, and they will do whatever it takes. They don't necessarily value human life like you and I do, and I think that's become evident what we've seen in tapes from allegedly from Planned Parenthood. You know the videos that I'm talking about. The ones that we don't ever talk about anymore because suddenly they were gotten rid of, or people were silenced and we don't talk about them anymore. So if you think this battle is over and this battle has won because we have Donald Trump, I say this so many times too, it's not about one man, one person. There's so much in this world going on right now that requires us to be vigilant, requires us to work together. And it requires us to work together with Donald Trump as long as, and I mean, just be clear about this, that he's not violating our constitutional rights. And maybe that's a hard pill to swallow for some people who are like, well, come on, we need to do some of that. No, we don't. And we have to be extremely careful because we can see the results of violating constitutional rights. Over the past 8 years, you can see how many freedoms you've lost. We don't have the time or the room, to lose any more freedoms. We have to maintain what we have, and we have to get back those that we've lost. And it's a battle. And again, on the other side, we have these people who want nothing more than to control every aspect of our lives and make us succumb and surrender to what it is they want to do. And if you don't know a lot about what I'm talking about, read Technocracy Rising by Patrick Wood. It will clue you in on things that you will make your head spin. Okay, seriously. And this interview that's coming up, please listen to that. And you'll hear a lot more about what I'm talking about and what you need to be aware of. So let me go now and let you hear. It's about a half an hour long, but I think it's really worth your listen. I asked Patrick first if he would explain a little bit about what technocracy, sustainable development, and green economy is all about, and this is what he had to say.
It is a little confusing at first for somebody who has never heard of technocracy before, but just to kind of bring it up from scratch, technocracy was a movement back in the 1930s, led by prominent scientists and engineers who decided that they would take it upon themselves to create a new economic system for the world. And they called it technocracy. It was a resource-based economic system that they envisioned, and it was to be controlled by energy. That is, the control over consumption of energy and distribution of energy. And what they themselves said about their movement back then is very appropriate to quote a 1938 magazine called The Technocrat. Mm-hmm. And they said, this is a direct quote, "Technocracy is the science of social engineering, the scientific operation of the entire social mechanism to produce and distribute goods and services to the entire population." That's what they said back then. And it's morphed today. It actually was rejected by Americans, and mostly by the end of the 30s and certainly by the end of the 40s. But it came back to life in more recent days as sustainable development and green economy that's being promoted, of course, by the United Nations. And of course, sustainable development is a resource-based economic system that the United Nations has sworn will overthrow capitalism and free enterprise today, in today's world. And a synonym is called green economy. They're kind of used interchangeably now at the United Nations. There's some other terms, too, that are used, like smart growth is a common word that refers to it. And you also have some others like natural capitalism is another lesser term.
I asked Patrick also to talk about a recent conference that he had attended called the Freedom Force International Conference, and this is what he had to say about it.
But the conference itself was put on by G. Edward Griffin of Creature from Jekyll Island fame, and he has an organization called Freedom Force International. This was their third annual Congress that they had, and the theme was global warming. They called it an inconvenient lie, and they brought in some really excellent speakers from around the world. Lord Christopher Monckton was there, Dr. William Happer was there from Princeton, Jim Lee talking about geoengineering was there. It was a really good lineup of speakers, and the idea was really just to kind of put a final debunking into the climate change mantra. And I think they did a great job. We need to have more of this stuff, I'll say. It's not that Americans generally believe in this climate change stuff, because they really don't. Almost 70% of Americans have said they strongly question whether this is, anything, true or not. But the people promoting climate change would readily, they always say the science is settled. We don't need to talk about it anymore. It's a field that needs to be debunked by the people in the field. That is the scientists and the engineers, that are working in that field. They're the ones that are getting besmirched. They're the ones that are trying to practice real science, and these other people are like just destroying their reputations for no particular good reason. I mean, you can imagine how they feel, if they're still dedicated to to real science and not pseudoscience. They're in a very poor position when these global warming scientists come out with doctored studies that are clearly doctored, but nobody cares, except of course the real scientists. But I made the point. My talk at this conference was, of course, in support of the debunking process. It desperately needs to be done, but I pointed out that in light of technocracy, the role of climate change is only to scare people into the arms of sustainable development. That's what it's all about. Climate change was not an end in itself. I don't believe it ever was. In fact, they tried it in the 1970s. Time magazine, Newsweek magazine, several others complained of global cooling and said, we're all going to freeze and it's your fault. And, so they tried the same thing in the opposite direction. That is the elite, the global elite, and under the auspices of the Trilateral Commission, they tried and failed. They rethought their whole position, and they came out with the idea of feeding sustainable development and Agenda 21 to the United Nations. And they did it. They did it. They did a pretty good job of it, I have to say, because it's everywhere now. They needed a barker, like a carnival barker in a sense. So some type of an issue had to be created that would get everybody's attention, scare them to death, and put them in a position where they just had to beg for something new, some kind of a new system. How are we going to escape this, And sustainable development was the answer. This is kind of a good cop, bad cop scenario, where the bad cop, tries to beat you up, and then the good cop comes in and says, oh, well, I'm here to help you, and I'm gonna solve your problems, and I'll help get you off with a light sentence. And this is what they're doing. They're beating everybody up with global warming, and then sustainable development comes along, and it promises things like eliminating poverty everywhere. How's that that's a good one.
Yeah.
They talk about having jobs for everybody with dignity. They talk about education for everyone. And it's utopia. They're promising utopia.
Patrick then went on to explain a little bit more in detail about what sustainable means.
Fortunately, the word sustainable has taken on a life of its own that's outside the original meaning of, to the United Nations in any case. The proper term is sustainable development. Now, that's a noun, okay? Sustainable development is a noun. It's an economic term. It actually really refers back to technocracy from the 1930s, but we'll just forget that for a second. But people have converted sustainable development, a noun, into an adjective. Well,
right.
It's when somebody says, well, is it sustainable? It's talking about a particular practice. So I could say, is water, water reclamation, is that sustainable? And the implication is, can it continue?
Right.
That's wrong. That's a misapplication of the term. Anytime the word sustainable is used, and it comes from the context of the United Nations, one should say sustainable development and forget using it as an adjective. It's a bad term.
When I asked him if sustainable development was just Marxism in disguise, this is what he had to say.
Not directly. The big plan with sustainable development and technocracy in general is to capture the resources of the world, take them away from you and I, and from our duly elected and duly constituted institutions like our state governments and private hands as well. But real estate and resources are being sequestered all over the planet right now, taken out of the hands of individuals and put into the hands of the collective, if you will. We've seen this in the United States under President Obama. He has managed to attach himself or to get a hold of 265 million acres of land during 8 years. He's taken it away from the states and put it into the hands of the BLM and the Park Service and so on. This is crazy. The Constitution provides that the federal government own no land except for Washington, D.C. and certain ports and military facilities. So they're grabbing resources at breakneck speed. They're basically saying they need to save those resources for future generations. Now, there's a scam.
Yeah.
And they'll gladly hold it for our benefit, and supposedly hand it to our children and grandchildren. Are you kidding me? Incredible that people don't see through this and just kick it right back in their face. They should. But the whole process that's taking place right now in this global transformation is taking away rights from people and their institutions and transferring those rights to this global body, which, we see mostly through the eyes of the United Nations. And whenever rights are taken away, people fall into poverty, not out of it. They fall into it. And we've seen
Absolutely.
that in our country with the loss of the middle class and how many people are homeless today because of the reckless policies, economic policies, that have been instituted by Barack Obama and George Bush before him. It's just incredible. We're not half the country we were 40 years ago.
I then asked him what role Trump might play and what the UN, what their role might be as far as sustainable development, climate change in general, what that might look like.
And of course, now, President Trump wants to make America great again, which I'm not against that. But when you consider that the head of climate change year and a half ago at the United Nations pointedly said that the United Nations intends to replace the economic development model with sustainable development, they've declared war.
Yeah.
They've outright declared war on free enterprise and capitalism. Now, free enterprise and capitalism, free enterprise, I'll just focus on that because that's more directed towards, towards individual people, maybe like you and I, that might be business people. Free enterprise is what made America what it is today. The ability to do business, to be free, to have property rights and so on, to do that sort of thing. This is what has made America great. So
Right.
To make America great again, in my opinion, the process is simple. Return the rights to the people. That's it. Mm-hmm. Nothing less, nothing more. Give the people their rights back. Get the government's fingers out of people's lives. And I realize this kind of sounds like a libertarian thought. I'm not a libertarian. I'm not a purist libertarian by any means. But this is really the issue right now. Give the rights back to the people. The United Nations is bent on taking rights away from people.
Right.
They think people are too stupid, ignorant, or whatever to live their life by themselves, so they're going to help us out on every front. And it's really tragic to see that while they say they're going to save the world, that's what their promise is, they're actually conducting policies that will destroy the world. Not save it, but destroy it.
I then asked his opinion about Amazon's new program, the Amazon smart stores, and what he thought about that in regards to what the UN and everybody else is trying to do.
This is people will see this in the news right now, I think, because it's in the news cycle. It just came out yesterday. Amazon has announced a new brick and mortar initiative where they're creating a checkout-less convenience store,
right?
Where everything is tracked and done by advanced technology, and I might say artificial intelligence technology. And so when you walk in the store, you're identified as you, and your credit card is already on file. Like if you're an Amazon Prime customer or whatever, they know, oh, hello,
everything about you, right?
Right. And you walk through the store with whatever you want to carry your goods out in. You could stuff them in your pocket for all they care, or put it in a basket or a bag or whatever, or your purse if you got a big purse. You take the goods off the shelf, and when you lift something off and put it in your bag or whatever, it puts it in the electronic shopping cart that follows you throughout the store. And so when you come to the end of your shopping, you simply walk out the door. You don't talk to anybody. You don't consult anybody. There's no checking to see if you accidentally slipped something else in there that shouldn't have been in there. You walk out the door and goodbye, Mr. Wood. See you next time. And by the time you arrive at the corner of the block that you're on, the charge has already automatically been made to your debit card or credit card.
I then went on to say, but wait a minute, they'll know everything. And what he had to say next was really kind of telling.
Yes, that's right. They will know everything. And, I want to, I want to read 3 of the 5 requirements of technocracy from the 1930s, okay? Because this is just like deja vu. Could have been written yesterday. The 3rd requirement says provide a continuous inventory of all production and consumption. Of course, what Amazon is doing does that. They have a continuous and immediate inventory. Requirement number 4 says, quote, provide a specific registration of the type, kind, etc. of all goods and services where produced and where used. And the 5th one says, quote, provide specific registration of the consumption of each individual, plus a record and description of the individual. Now, in this, what Amazon has done, they have met all 3 requirements of original technocracy set out in the 1930s. And it's all ubiquitous. It's all transparent. You walk in and you walk out. Now, they're planning on selling this technology to other brick and mortar stores. You can see where this is going.
Wow.
And the problem with this is, Susan, if any listeners haven't already figured this out, is that every smidgen of data that's harvested from your shopping and from you personally, all the other stuff that's combined with your shopping record, becomes a permanent part of their portfolio that they can sell to every Tom, Dick, and Harry that's got the money to pay for it. So basically it means everybody in the world is going to have everything about you in their pocket. And they can use that against you. And you're right. Like, if you need socks, well, the next time, let's say you go to another convenience store that has the same technology, or maybe a different kind of store, I don't know, maybe like a health food store or something. You walk in, they recognize you, and all of a sudden, they're bringing up stuff that you bought from the other store. Now, this happens on the internet all the time. I'm sure you've seen it. You go to Amazon and look at a product, and you quit that browser, and then you go off and you browse some news site somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
All of it had nothing to do with Amazon. All of a sudden, you see all these ads for that product you looked at popping up on the screen.
Absolutely.
Well, how did they know? What business is it of theirs? Well, they're trading these internet tokens called cookies on your on your computer, that it's recorded on your hard disk that you went to Amazon and that you looked at X product or whatever. And then once you're identified, you go to another website. That website picks up the cookie and starts feeding you Amazon's ads again. Now, you can just imagine this, in the retail brick and mortar business.
Oh, yeah.
Across, malls, shopping, all kinds of grocery stores and, ad infinitum. You can just see it coming.
I next asked him about microchips and what his thoughts were about that, and here's what he had to say.
Well, they're already there. Microchips are being used throughout industry for all kinds of inventory and control. And you go into a clothing store, for instance, you won't see any clerks walking around doing a physical inventory on the racks.
Right.
That's because they all have embedded microchips. And so the proof of that, if anybody would question that, try and walk out of a store without paying with some merchandise. And all of a sudden at the door, oh my gosh, do you think it's what is going to come get you? But see, everything has the tracking devices in it now for inventory control. That's already being used. So when you go to the register and they take your item and they slip it across the barcode, the barcode reader. When it's doing that, it neutralizes that secondary process. It neutralizes that chip, at least as far as to let you out of the store. Now, what researchers have found is that even though you can get out of the store then with that shoe or that dress or whatever, if the chip is not physically removed from the item, it can continue to be used as a tracking device, outside the store. And the way that happens is that the chip gives up its information because it's irradiated with microwave energy.
Right.
In other words, it's remote energy that's beamed in. It's kind of like when I say microwave, it's kind of like, the stuff that comes off your Wi-Fi router in your home or the smart meter inside your house. There's energy in the air. So the energy is directed at the chip, like at the door when you're walking out. And if the energy activates the chip and all of a sudden it wakes up, bloop, and it sends its information back to the receiver, then whatever data it gave up, the receiver has it and can deal with it. So that's how they track you going out of a store. But when you go out of the store, if that chip is still physically there, it can be irradiated with energy again,
right,
and give up its data somewhere else.
My next question was to ask him about if there were any long-term effects that these chips inserted in the clothing of people might have on humans that we aren't being told.
Yeah, these RFID chips don't have built-in batteries. They don't have any ability to generate energy on their own.
Okay.
So they have to pick up their energy from a remote source.
Wow.
And it's a very specific technology that can be virtually embedded anywhere. Like their stores, for instance, have that technology embedded all over the store, where they can see what chips you're walking along the store with, walking around the store. So they use that for marketing.
Yeah.
So if they know that you went to the ladies department of, you look at some certain stuff or you pick something up and put it in your basket, and now you're going over to another department that's maybe related. It's not dresses. Maybe you're going over to, the undergarments or something like that. Well, they can pick up that information and, make suggestions to you as to what you might want to look at over here in this other department.
I then wondered what he thought about the implanting of the chips, the microchips inside of humans, and if that was a possibility in the near future.
Yeah, I know. There's been a lot of hoopla over the embedded microchips. They're kind of like a little grain of sand, they say, or a grain of rice, and they slip them under your skin. I suppose those might have an application in the future, but the trend today is for all data to live in the cloud. That is, in the internet cloud, not on your computer, not in your body, not anywhere else, but to live in the cloud. This is the way the model works. If you have data on you that's being collected by the government or by Obamacare or whatever, the only thing they need to do is be able to identify you just to make sure you're you, so they can put more information on it or give you services. So they can look at your face now with facial recognition, what they call bioidentic software. They can look at your face, they can look at your iris, they can look at your fingerprints if they wanted to, and immediately identify who you are. And then you're connected to your data that lives in the cloud. So It really doesn't require data to live on a chip inside, under your skin. In any case, how much data could it hold anyhow? All it's going to hold is identifying data. And when you consider that anybody could cut out your chip and use it in some other context, shows the frailty of the technology anyway. But if the data's in the cloud, you can't outrun it. They'll see you coming no matter where you go. You can be identified with cameras and stuff. And they have everything at their fingertips that you've ever done. Everything you've ever done, whatever, all your social media profile information. It's all there for them to use.
Really scary stuff. I hope you can use this information, pass it along to everybody else that you know of. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for listening. And until next time, take care of yourself. God bless you. We'll see you again really soon. And be vigilant. Take care.